Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla TV, here to talk to you today about Yoshimura Exhaust. You should be looking into a Yoshimura exhaust if you want an exhaust for your bike that's going to sound great, and in the case of full system exhaust is going to make your bike perform, but primarily you should be looking into Yoshimura specifically for an exhaust manufacturer that's going to give you a lot of visual options. Yoshimura offers a myriad of exhausts. Something is going to look great in your bike, especially if you're a picky rider and you have a very specific vision of how you want your motorcycle to look. Yoshi's making pipes for a pretty wide variety of motorcycles, but you should know going into things that these guys concentrate primarily on metric motorcycles. Heavy concentration on ADV bikes, dual sport, street sport combos. These are the bikes that Yoshi is making pipes for primarily. As always, I'm going to urge you to use our bike finder. Throw your bike information in there. Let us show you the stuff that fits your bike exactly without having to tailor fit or do anything custom. Stuff that's going to bolt right onto your motorcycle, making your installation easy. Speaking of that installation, you're looking at 1 to 2 beards on our BSD, our beard scale of difficulty, depending specifically on which exhaust it is that you're installing and what kind of bike you're putting it on. However, you should know that just about all home mechanics with a modicum of common sense and a decent toolkit should be able to get something installed in their garage very, very simply. Now, before you start listening to me talk about Yoshimura exhaust, why don't you listen to some Yoshimura exhausts themselves? Wrap your earballs around these. Sounds pretty good, right? Let's talk a little bit about some of Yoshimura's history. Yoshimura was started by a fellow named Pops Yoshimura, surprise, surprise. Pops got real famous around the rise of the superbike era. In the early 70s, he started wrenching on bikes, and it turned out he was really good at making them go fast. This guy was a genius. Now, we're talking about Yoshimura exhaust today, but you should probably be aware, if you're unfamiliar with the company, that Yoshimura is also a major player in carburetors as well as camshafts. Now, Pops is long since gone, but the company legacy really does live on, and they are great about making bikes go fast and look awesome. So before we get kicking too deep into things, let's talk about how this video is actually going to get sliced up. First, we're going to talk about some slip-on mufflers. Next, we're going to talk about full system exhausts. And then to wrap things up, we're going to talk about the installation of both types of exhaust. You can click at any point to skip ahead in the video for that, but I'm going to urge you guys this time to sit through the whole video, especially if you're looking into a full system exhaust. Normally, I say, hey, skip it, don't listen to me blather on and on. But the thing is, all of these slip-ons you can see up here, a lot of the information here is going to be directly relatable to those full system exhausts. So if you are considering a full system exhaust by Yoshimura, check out both the slip-on and the full system section. There's going to be a lot of good meat and potatoes information there for you. At this stage of the game, let's start talking about some of their slip-on mufflers. Yoshimura, as I said, offers lots and lots of mufflers. I'm going to urge you once again, use our bike finder. We're going to show you the stuff that's going to fit your bike specifically. Now, the reason I say that is Yoshi has lots and lots of exhaust lines, and they fit different things. So some exhausts are meant for certain types of bikes. So rather than try and wander through and understand their entire lineup, you might be better off sort of winnowing down your choices a little bit by seeing what exactly Yoshi makes for your bike. Now, we can't cover every single exhaust, but I do want to run you through a couple of the ones you see up here, some of the more popular ones, and why they're important and why you might want to consider them. Let's lead off with this exhaust you can see up here. This is a RS9 pipe. This is a slip-on made specifically for the Honda Grom. Now, to some of you that may not seem all that important, but it is, and I'll explain to you why in just a second here. The Grom pipe was about the only one on the market for quite a while. As such, this serves as a great representative example of how it is that Yoshimura stays on top of the metric game. A lot of the time, Yoshi is the only option for a pipe for your bike. So the RS9 exhaust might be a serious exhaust for a not so serious motorcycle, but it does a very good job of showing folks how good Yoshi is at making sure they get bikes in for R&D and make sure they're cranking out exhausts quickly for metric motorcycles. Moving down here, you can see we have a TRC exhaust. We stuck one of these on our House R6. I love this exhaust. Sounded absolutely fantastic. Install was a snap on this. It's a really good looking exhaust. You can see this triangular cross section here. This is definitely a noticeable exhaust. No one is going to mistake this for some other exhaust. You can also see here this stainless heat shield. It's good looking, keeps rubber from burning to the tail end of your pipe. Got some laser etching on here. It's a good looking shorty exhaust, and you can see this is available in a full stainless finish. Moving on down here, the R55 exhaust. This is also another really cool muffler. This particular slip-on has a lot of the same features and benefits of the other short exhaust you're seeing up here, but it also has this really aggressive taper. I like to think of the R55 as sort of a modern day take on the flared megaphone exhaust that was so popular for so many years. Again, you can see this one's stainless with a carbon end cap. You have some different finish options available. Again, that kind of comes back to that whole Yoshi thing where you can just get just about anything you want with any length can you like, any finish you like on there. They offer a lot of different options, so you can really tailor the look of your bike to make sure that it looks the way you want it to. Moving over to my left side here, you can see up here we have a pair of RS4 exhausts. The RS4 is a pretty nifty pipe. RS4 pipes are designed specifically for adventure bikes, off-road, dual sport bikes. You're going to find these primarily for those motorcycles. I like these a lot because they bring street styling to some of the more off-road oriented motorcycles. You'll notice these are a little bit more conservative looking. Longer cans on here. They're going to keep a nice quiet tone on things despite the fact they are going to sound great. Your tone's going to change a lot, but you're not going to have ear-splitting volume necessarily with a longer exhaust like the RS4 has. One of the other things I think looks killer on here is this red anodized bracket. Looks absolutely fantastic. And again, with the full carbon finish up here, you can see we got a carbon end cap on this puppy. Again, bring some of that street styling off-road just a little bit. Rounding things out, you can see down here, we have an R77 exhaust. I like this exhaust. It's a nice middleweight option. It's a mid-length exhaust. It's not too crazy looking. It's a conservative option. I think you're going to find a lot of you guys can find one of these for your bikes if you have a street bike. It's going to look great on your bike. And again, it's going to look sharp without necessarily sticking out and looking all crazy. For those of you who are super conservative like I was, we don't have one up here, but I would recommend you take a look at the Yoshi RS3 exhaust. I ran one of those, a million years ago on one of my 97 katanas. Yes, I had a katana. Yes, it was from 1997. And yes, the RS3 looked and performed fantastically on there. Now that we've talked about Yoshimura slip-ons as well as my katana, let's move on to some full system stuff. Alrighty, on to the Yoshi full systems. Now, some of you who are watching are probably on the fence. You're wondering whether a slip-on or a full system might be right for you. And then there might be some of you too who are wondering exactly what the difference is. Let me sum it up for you very, very quickly and succinctly. With a Yoshi full system, you're going to get exactly the same benefits that the slip-ons offer you. You're going to get an awesome looking exhaust, and you're going to get an exhaust that sounds great. The additional benefits you're going to get though are twofold. First and foremost, you're going to make a little bit more power. Those of you who are interested in making your bike go super duper fast, a full system exhaust is probably just a starting point for you. If you have plans to put other power adders onto your bike at some point down the road, almost all of them are going to require a really high flowing exhaust in order to take full advantage of the power that those power adders do actually put into your motorcycle. The other benefit you guys are going to be looking at too is weight savings, and that kind of comes in a couple different ways. First and foremost, because these are racing exhausts, what they're going to do is do away with a lot of the emissions requirements that you're going to need for this street. So things like catalytic converters, pair valves, stuff can get taken off of your motorcycle that helps drop the weight. The other side of that coin too is you're also going to be saving weight too because these are made from exotic materials for the most part. You're going to see almost exclusively just about every single Yoshi full system exhaust is going to be made from either stainless or titanium, which is usually quite an upgrade from factory mild steel systems. So if you're considering a full Yoshi system, you're getting weight loss and you're getting performance. Now before we get into the products you can see up here on the table, let me just make one quick item of note. There are some exhaust brands out there where systems are modular. You can take a head pipe and you can add it to a muffler, boom, and you can turn your slip-on system into a full system. That's not the case with Yoshi. They do not offer head pipes a la carte, and in many cases, the head pipes and the mufflers don't even jive. So just just keep that in mind. You may be better off delaying gratification on that slip-on system if you think that a full system is going to be in your future down the line. You might be able to keep a couple bucks in your pocket. So in order to show you exactly what I'm talking about, we've got a couple example pieces up here. I want to show you some of the materials and construction that make Yoshimura full system exhausts stand out just a little bit. Let's start over here. You can see a very standard head pipe. This one again off of our Honda Grom we were talking about earlier. This is just a regular brushed stainless exhaust, and you'll notice here MIG welding on here. Yoshi's a little strange in that they use brushed stainless as well as MIG welding. Typically you're going to see TIG on stainless, but Yoshi does things a little bit differently. It is one of those things that makes their head pipes easily and almost immediately identifiable. This is going to be, I'm going to say, your entry-level starting point. Moving over here, you can see we have a set of head pipes as well as an R77 mufflers. This is a full system exhaust designed for the Yamaha FZ09. I'm going to call this the step up from their basic setup. You can see this beautiful polish job they've put on here. This is a stainless exhaust. Those of you who are familiar with the FZ09, you know that that bike wears no lower bodywork. Your exhaust is right there in the open for everybody to see. Yoshi is cognizant that you want a good looking exhaust in your bike, and that doesn't just mean a nice muffler, it means an entire exhaust that looks good. Without any type of bodywork to cover up the head pipes, it is imperative that these look nice in order to make your motorcycle visually a little bit more appealing. So you can see this full polish they've put on here, really nice looking set of pipes. I like that Yoshi takes the time and attention to make these look nice, so for the guy who's putting an exhaust on his bike, it's going to look good where he needs it to. Moving to the center of things, I'd like to direct your attention to this head pipe. This is for a Honda CRF 250. Check this baby out. Those of you who are eagle eyes will notice TIG welding on here. The reason this is TIG welded is this is a titanium exhaust. Yoshi TIG welds when they're using tie, and titanium really is about the most exotic exhaust material that we've started dealing with at this point in time. Super duper light. This is the absolute maximum as far as weight savings are concerned. For those of you who are really concerned about performance, you're looking at a tie exhaust. Now, I would also like to recommend to you too that you keep in mind, especially with the stainless exhaust, but to some degree the titanium exhaust too, these are all going to yellow and color a little bit over time. Titanium has this habit of turning sort of this beautiful rainbow color, and the stainless exhaust you're going to see actually turn gold. They actually turn golden once they're heated. They look really nice. If you're the type of person who wants to maintain this look, they do polish back out, but just keep that in mind in the back of your head. Your exhaust will be gold after a little bit of use. Probably my favorite full system that Yoshi is currently cranking out. You can actually see back here behind me the vintage system. I love this thing. Some of you guys know that I'm a little bit of an old fuddy-duddy. I remember these being on race bikes when I was a kid. KZs, CBs, slingshots. This was the exhaust pipe of choice. Every single bike that went fast had one of these on there. Kind of cool. They're packing some modern technology into an older looking design. Believe it or not, this baby's not mild steel like all the old ones were. This thing's actually made of stainless, so you are getting a little bit of a weight reduction there. This coating on here too, this is a black ceramic coating, going to keep the heat levels down on the outside of the pipe, going to keep the inside of the pipe nice and hot, help move exhaust quickly through there. Currently, this thing's available for the Yamaha Star Bolt and the Honda CB1100. I don't know how I feel about that Yamaha Star Bolt fitment, but the CB1100 being a vintage bike, throw this puppy on there, you're going to be in full throwback mode. So let's chat about installation a little bit. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, 1 or 2 beards depending on what it is that you're looking at. So let's talk about slip-ons first. Those of you who are looking at a muffler only or a slip-on system, you're looking at, I'm going to say on average, about 1 beard on our beard scale of difficulty, depending on the bike you're working on. Typically, slip-ons are a pretty easy install. If you're not familiar with how it works, check out our Common Tread article on it. We have a whole run through on it, but basic hand tools in 30-35 minutes in the garage should see you being able to throw a new muffler on your bike. You should be out and about enjoying the new sound pretty quickly. One caveat with that, those of you guys looking at RS5 systems, Yoshi designed the RS5 primarily for undertail bikes. Those of you guys on CBR 600s, 1000s, ZX6Rs of a certain age. You have undertail exhausts. They're a little bit hairier to get to. It's not a 30-minute install on those bikes. Keep that in mind. One of the other things I would say too, if you are going to go with a mufflers only system on one of those bikes, that can be a great time to do things like swap up your turn signals, tail tidy kits, license plate relocation brackets. It'll kind of help you combine some of the labor and save you some time in the garage. So it might make sense to do a couple of those items at once. Those of you guys looking at full system exhaust, you're probably going to bump into the 2 beard category depending on what you're working on. Fairly obviously, a bike with full plastics is going to require access to get to the exhaust. So if you have a full plastic bike, just keep in mind you have a little bit of work just to get to the exhaust itself. You're physically installing more pipe than this slip-on only fellow, so you have a little bit more work to do. You're also going to have to deal with things, again, like pair valve, catalytic converter. Some of you are going to be looking at oxygen sensor removal. You need a couple of special tools, possibly a little bit of knowledge to work with those items. Again, nothing terribly difficult. Yoshi includes instructions with the exhaust. Super easy to follow along. Just keep that in mind. One of the other things that bumps you up into that two-beard category is, again, the tuning process. By installing a full system on your motorcycle, you're almost certainly going to have to modify your fuel system. So for most of you, I'm assuming that's going to be a fuel tuner of some sort. It takes a little bit of time to actually hook up the fuel tuner, but I think most of your time, believe it or not, is going to be invested in the actual tuning process. Some of you are going to put the bike onto a dyno. Some of you are going to use the butt dyno, which means you're going to run out and you're going to test and tune, making changes as you go. That does add some time to the job. I do it, I like it, I think it's an enjoyable part of installing an exhaust. You may feel differently. Just keep in mind, you probably want to dedicate a whole afternoon to that process. So again, between that vintage exhaust and my love for the Yoshi RS3s, I love a lot of the stuff that Yoshi makes. My opinion, however, is not the only game in town. Click that info button, see what some other riders who are rocking Yosh pipes on their bike have to say about them. If you need a little bit of help, whether it's a fitment or installation issue, or you just need a little help deciding on what system might be right for you, get in touch with one of our gear geeks. See us at RevZilla.com. You can always give us a jingle on the telling bone too, 877-792-9455. As always, I'm Lemmy. I'm out of here.